हेलो एवरीवन। वेलकम टू माय यूट्यूब चैनल द सोलफुल डायरी। आज के वीडियो में हम बात करेंगे अल्फ्रेड लॉर्ड टेनिसन की पोम द लेडी ऑफ शार्लेट के बारे में। हम पोएट के बारे में पहले एक वीडियो में डिस्कस कर चुके हैं जिसका लिंक डिस्क्रिप्शन में है। चलिए आज के पोम में लेडी ऑफ शार्लेट के बारे में बात करते हैं। इन डेप्थ जानने से पहले जान लेते हैं उसके कुछ की फीचर्स। द पोम narrates the tale of a cursed lady entrapped in a tower on the island of Shalott who meets a tragic end. The poem is written in the form of a ballad that illustrates the isolation of a woman in a tower far from what she wants to live and experience. She lives a life imprisoned by a curse she knows no consequence for and so hesitates to live her life the way she would have liked. The poem is structured into 19 stanzas, each containing 9 lines and divided into 4 parts. The segmented structure helps to methodically narrate the tale of the Lady of Shalott from her isolated life to her tragic demise. The form is unique, not adhering to any conventional pattern, yet it evokes the ballad tradition which aligns with its storytelling nature. Stanza 1. On either side the river lie long fields of barley and of rye, that clothe the wold and meet the sky, and through the field the road runs by, to many towered Camelot, and up and down the people go, gazing where the lilies blow, round an island there below, the island of Charlotte. Tennyson uses the opening stanza of his poem to really set the tone for the rest of the poem. We are introduced to two highly contrasting places, Camelot and Charlotte. Camelot can effortlessly represent the dream of any and every person, a world full of life and opportunities, even the roads that look attractive and inviting. There are roads that lead to a life of opportunity for every person. Each individual has their own Camelot, and every tower within symbolizes the desires and hopes that they would love to reach one day. Charlotte, however, can just as easily represent the bubble that we as individuals create for ourselves. It is a place that people merely notice in passing. So the comfort zones and rules that we create for ourselves that no one else really pays attention to are without much difficulty as represented by Charlotte in this poem. Stanza 2. Willows whiten, aspens quiver, little breezes dusk and shiver through the wave that runs forever by the island and the river, flowing down to Camelot. Four grey walls and four grey towers overlook a space of flowers, and the silent isles embowers the Lady of Shalott. The this stanza shifts the imagery in the direction of winter, with snowy white willows and aspen trees that quiver in the cold. It also mentions the little breezes that run through the waves of the river near the island of Charlotte, which flows towards Camelot. The island is finally given some attention as the introduction to the Lady of Shalott surfaces. The Lady of Shalott is described as sheltered in a building or structure that has four grey walls and towers and is located on a lifeless island. This depiction is in obvious high contrast with the flowers and eye catching view of Camelot that is surrounding her. In this stanza, the common man woman is introduced through the character of the Lady of Shalott. Like the lady, we as humans often live our lives with caution and safety, so the depiction of four grey walls and towers fit well in representing a dull bubble that we have created for ourselves to stay alive and afloat in the world. Our dreams and desires for our futures, however, reside in the attractive world of Camelot. Stanza 3. By the margin, willow Wailed, slide the heavy barges trailed by slow horses and unhailed. The shallow flitted, silken sailed, skimming down to Camelot. But who had seen her wave her hand, or at the casement seen her stand, or is she known in all the land, the Lady of Shalott? This stanza takes the focus from my personal bubbles back to Camelot, where there is so much potential for everything we have ever wanted. It is definitely not grey and safe, just the path leading to it is covered with trees of life and heavy barges, horses, and other small boats, which could easily portray the ideas we have for our lives that are too risky to stay in Charlotte. They are then slowly making their way across the rivers and roads to Camelot, where they will be housed. The questions asked at the end of the stanza highlight how trapped we are in the safe zones we have created for ourselves. That the things and people outside of those zones seem like a far fetched idea instead of a reality, much like the Lady of Shalott is to the people of and around Camelot. Stanza 4. Only reapers, reaping early, in among the bearded barley, hear a song that echoes cheerily from the river winding clearly down to towered Camelot, and by the moon the reaper weary piling sheaves in a plant's airy, listening whispers, "'Tis the fairy Lady of Shalott." This stanza concludes the first part of the poem. Here, Tennyson mentions reapers who are harvesting barley, and they are the only ones who know of the lady's existence because they hear the echoes of her singing day and night. Because they don't know much about her and she's a mystery to most, they consider her a fairy. If we look at the Lady of Shalott as ourselves, we can see that we are mere ideas to people whom we haven't stepped out of our comfort zones to meet, and because of that, our aspirations for life are mere echoes that reach people. We are fearless when it comes to creating our Camelot, but so very fearful when it comes to taking risk to achieve those goals. That is why our words will not impact those around us, and our voices will stay as hollow as echoes no matter if we sing about our plans day and night. If we want to be acknowledged, we have to take the risk of stepping out of what is normal for us. Part 2, stanza 5. There she weaves, by night and day, a magic web with colors gay. She has heard a whisper say, a curse is on her if she stay, to look down to Camelot. She knows not what the curse may be, and so she weaveth steadily, and little other care had she, the Lady of Shalott. Every individual has a web of thoughts and ideas that they are busy with on a daily basis. Like the Lady of Shalott, we are busy ourselves with weaving them in routine like rituals every single day. She was cursed with an unknown curse. If she ever looked towards Camelot, as humans, we let doubt be the unknown curse that threatens to ruin our normalcy and ritualistic life. The doubt that anything other than what we know to be real and true can also become a reality that is achievable if only we take the risk to try. Now, much like the lady, we like to stay in our grey comfort zones. So we don't care to try risking the peaceful routine with all that awaits us in our Camelot. Stanza 6. And moving through a mirror clear that hangs before her all the year, shadows of the world appear. There she sees the highway near, winding down to Camelot. There the river eddy whirls, and there the surly village churls, and the red cloaks of market girls pass onward from Charlotte. This is where things get interesting. The Lady of Shalott is given a mirror that allows her to glimpse outside her tower only through the shadows or blurry pictures that it displays. The mirror is an extremely important symbol. It represents the perceptions, views, biases, and experiences in our lives that shape what we see. We never see situations or events in life for what they are. We can only understand them through our understanding of what happened, and that will vary from person to person. While we sit still in our comfort zones, Charlotte, weaving our daily routines, will look through this mirror to see if we can see what awaits us outside. Another reason the images are blurry is that we can't truly know what is there until we take the risk to go out and see for ourselves. Until then, we can only guess through the shadows, perceptions, bias that we see in our mirrors. Of the people we see through, the mirror are those who are rude, those who have complete opposite comfort zones than us, and the market girls who can easily represent those people who pass by our Charlotte with no interest in who we are but have eyes only for traveling, taking risks, and not just building their Camelot, but striving to live in it too. Stanza 7. Sometimes a troop of damsels clad, an abbot on an ambling pad, sometimes a curly shepherd lad, a long-haired page in crimson clad, goes by to towered Camelot, and sometimes through the emerald blue the knights come riding two and two. She had no loyal knight and true, the Lady of Shalott. As the character of the lady sees these various people in the mirror, we can relate easily to seeing such people in our own mirrors too. The young shepherd symbolizes the people who try to lead the herd in various situations in life. The page in crimson is a person who has managed to get to a point in life where they are seen in high regard. Finally, the knights are those people who seem to embody all our wishes and desires. The lady, not having a knight to dote on her, emphasizes that she has not seen her most tempting hopes and desires show up in her mirror yet, like many of us. Stanza 8. But in her web she still delights to weave the mirror's magic sights, for often through the silent nights, a funeral with plumes and lights and music went to Camelot, or when the moon was overhead, came two young lovers lately wed. I am half sick of shadows, said the Lady of Shalott. Besides the people Besides the people that she sees, the mirror has another purpose for the lady. It gives her something to weave. The sights she sees are a relief from the four grey walls that she's trapped in. The two sights she often sees are funerals and happy newlyweds. These sights are significant in our analysis because they embody our fears. As we sit in Charlotte, we watch through our experiences and bias. Our mirrors, two extremes, people who fail miserably in their attempt to reach or live in the Camelot that they had envisioned, or people who newly start their journey of creating risky hopes and dreams and are not afraid to dive in and see if they can reach their idea of a perfect future. Only after this, does the lady speak out for the first time, saying she's sick of watching the world through the shadows, much like the motivation we obtain by watching people strive for better and take risks to get there. Part 3, Stanza 9. A bow shot from her bower eaves. He rode between the barley sheaves. The sun came dazzling through the leaves, and flamed upon the brazen greaves of bold Sir Lancelot, a red cross knight, for ever kneeled to a lady in his shield that sparkled on the yellow field beside remote Shalott. Part 3 of the poem is all about the second character, Sir Lancelot. He is a famous knight, as most know him, from around King Arthur's table. 3 out of 4 of the stanzas in this section are spent just describing Lancelot. This highlights his importance and significance in the poem. In this specific stanza, we are told he was very close to Charlotte and very attractive in his appearance. What is close to our comfort zone and very attractive to us, our most desired and most ambitious goals. This is what Lancelot embodies. We will notice that Camelot, which has been the center of every stanza, literally line 5 in every stanza mentions Camelot as replaced by Lancelot, here giving him the limelight as well as emphasizing the connection between Lancelot, a most desired and ambitious goal, and Camelot, the dreams and aspirations we have that require risk to achieve. Stanza 10. The gemmy bridle glittered free. Like to some branch of stars we see, hung in the golden galaxy, the bridle bells rang merrily. As he rode down to Camelot, and from his blazoned baldric slung, a mighty silver bugle hung, and as he rode his armour rung beside remote Charlotte. From this stanza, we take away that Lancelot makes noise as he passes by Charlotte, looking quite magnificent, very similar to the way our most desired and ambitious goals attract our attention every time. We are reminded of them as we sit in our safe towers in Charlotte. There will always be something tempting enough to push you out of your comfort zone. Lancelot seems to represent that directly in the poem of Lady of Shalott well as indirectly to the reader who has his own most desired goals waiting just outside his comfort zone. Stanza 11. All in the blue unclouded weather, thick jewels shone, the saddle leather, the helmet and the helmet feather burn like one burning flame together. As he rode down to Camelot, as often through the purple night, below the starry clusters bright, some bearded meteor trailing light moves over still Charlotte. This stanza is important because we can easily reinforce the idea that Lancelot represents the most attractive goals and desires because of the comparison of him and meteors, since meteors are the falling stars that people wish upon. Still, lifeless, Charlotte is once again mentioned in contrast to Lancelot's tempting vision, which is identical to the contrast between our still quiet lives without risking and the temptation of taking chances to achieve our most desired goal. Stanza 12. His broad clear brow in sunlight glowed. On burnished hoofs his war horse rode. From underneath his helmet flowed his coal black curls as he rode down to Camelot from the bank and from the river. He flashed into the crystal mirror. Tira lira, by the river sang Sir Lancelot. The poet is describing Lancelot's greatness, but also the horse that he rides and the mannerism in which he enters Camelot singing. This shows us that in the narrative of the poem, Lancelot is calling attention to himself carelessly as he prances into Camelot, almost teasing, daring the lady to have a look and be tempted to take that risk. Very much like how our dearest goals tease us and tempt us to take chances if we want to see them become a reality. Stanza 13. She left the web, she left the loom. She made 3 paces through the room. She saw the water lily bloom. She saw the helmet and the plume. She looked down to Camelot. Out flew the web and floated wide. The mirror cracked from side to side. The curse is come upon me, cried the Lady of Shalott. Finally, something is shaking up Charlotte, both in the narrative and in our interpretation. The lady decides to take a chance with the curse and look down at Camelot. She takes her first steps to break out of her comfort levels and safe zone, so she can simply just look at Camelot she was forbidden to look at. This act liberated her, exactly like the liberation of a person who was trapped in his own bubble because of the limitation set by himself, only to gather the courage and cross that line. Just as anyone would panic with the first steps towards taking big chances to make dreams a reality, the Lady of Shalott dreads that she will now suffer the consequences, the curse, which in our interpretation is doubt. Part 4, stanza 14. In the stormy east winds raining, the pale yellow woods were waning, the broad stream in his banks complaining, heavily the low sky raining, over towered Camelot. Down she came and found a boat beneath a willow left afloat, and round about the prow she rode, the Lady of Shalott. Stormy weather represents the chaos we create for ourselves and our environment when we let the curse, our doubts, become a reality when it really doesn't have to. In the story, the lady loses hope in retaining any normalcy in her life. And that pushes her to leave her comfort zone that she has never left before. Sometimes you need that fear of doubt and failure to push you into taking the steps you need to be forced out of your comfort zone and into a place where you can easily reach your Camelot in search of your Lancelot. Stanza 15. And down the river's dim expanse, like some bold seer in a trance, seeing all his own mischance, with a glassy countenance, did she look to Camelot, and at the closing of the day she loosed the chain, and down she lay. The broad stream bore her far away, the Lady of Shalott. In the stanza, the lady anticipated the curse to befall her and basically froze her attempts to gain anything out of the risk that she took when she glanced at Camelot. Most of us can relate to this situation as we feel like an imminent, inevitable doom awaits those who take big chances to get their Lancelot. As the lady lay in the boat, she was basically preparing her grave, waiting for the curse to befall her. What we learn is that sometimes we bring hardships upon ourselves for no reason but our fear of a doubtful, unfamiliar future. Stanza 16. Lying robed in snowy white that loosely flew to left and right, the leaves upon her falling light. Through the noises of the night she floated down to Camelot, and as the boat head wound along the willowy hills and fields among, they heard her singing her last song, the Lady of Shalott. This depiction is the perfect romanticized version of a person who has lost their battle in an attempt to earn freedom from their ritualistic daily routine. The only problem is that the lady has inflicted this upon herself almost like a need to punish herself for stepping out of line from the way she used to live. We must not punish ourselves for pursuing our goals in life. Doing so will only bring unnecessary rifts on your journey to Camelot once you are brave enough to start it. 17. Heard a carol mournful holy, chanted loudly, chanted lowly, till her blood was frozen slowly, and her eyes were darkened wholly, turned to towered Camelot, for ere she reached upon the tide, the first house by the water's side, singing in her song she died, the Lady of Shalott. Here we witness what self inflicted punishment can do to a person. The lady sang until she breathed her last breath. Until then, she was singing to mask the horror she was experiencing as her blood froze and the light literally left her eyes. This is important because this is portrayed as a curse. However, we as readers know that she chose to do this to herself and there was no one forcing her to act this way. Only her guilt and fear of the curse left her to curse herself to a terrible death. Sometimes we sabotage ourselves unknowingly because we are afraid of the possibility of creating a new reality for ourselves. We become so comfortable in our daily routines that even the thought of following our greatest desires makes us feel insecure. Stanza 18. Under tower and balcony, by garden wall and gallery, a gleaming ship she floated by, dead pale between the houses high, silent into Camelot, out upon the wharfs they came, knight and burgher, lord and dame, and round the prow they read her name, the Lady of Shalott. The lady finally makes it to Camelot, the one she wanted to see. Unfortunately, it was her dead body that got to opportunity to tour Camelot. The interesting thing to note is that even out of Charlotte, she brought the silence with her to Camelot because she was too afraid to risk a chance at a new reality. The people of Camelot, who, by the way, are successful, which fits nicely with the interpretation that they are those who took risks to get their Camelot, came to view the sight of a person who cursed themselves to death for trying to step out of their comfort zone. Stanza 19. Who is this and what is here? And in the lightened palace near, tried the sound of royal cheer, and they crossed themselves for fear. All the knights at Camelot, but Lancelot mused a little space. He said, she has a lovely face. God in his mercy lend her grace, the Lady of Shalott. As the poem finally concludes, we see that fate did have a meeting planned for the Lady of Shalott to be in Camelot and meet her Lancelot, but unfortunately, because of her own insecurities, she could not enjoy the scene. Interestingly enough, Lancelot found her beautiful. If only he knew how much was riding on his shoulders as he rode into Camelot the other day. Let this be a lesson to those who hesitate to take chances and easily become nervous about the consequences and cause more harm than good by anticipating failure. You will not have success in achieving your greatest goals and making it to your dream life if you carry the curse of doubt with you. थैंक यू आई होप आज की वीडियो आपको पसंद आई होगी अगर अच्छी लगी तो लाइक शेयर एंड सब्सक्राइब टू माय चैनल हमें कमेंट करके बताइए कि आप आने वाली वीडियो किस टॉपिक पर देखना चाहते हैं मिलते हैं कल एक और इन्फॉर्मेटिव वीडियो के साथ शाम 4 बजे